Welcome back to the Techno-Communism podcast. Uh, I'm about ready to lose my fucking mind. So, as you know, the International Court of Justice is having hearings to determine whether Israel, destroying a huge city and killing tens and tens and tens of thousands of people, is really and truly a war crime. And of course, if you haven't heard, most of you, if you are watching the show, already know this: that the United States attacked Yemen yesterday, as the headline here of this live stream suggests, uh, for the crime of a blockade of the Red Sea, which has physically harmed no one, and his only purpose is to stop this Jewish fascist Holocaust against the people that they are keeping in concentration camps, the Palestinian people. And yes, I do not hesitate to call Israel a Jewish fascist state. Zionists are not exclusively Jewish fascists. It's fair to say that Christian fascists have a greater culpability in all of this. There would be no white supremacist outpost and U.S. military base that we so generously call Israel without Christian fascism and a war machine and engines for extraction of private wealth that all really represents, without the malign influence of the U.S. and fascist West. None of this should exist, but like so many things in this world, we very, very little choice in this. I tagged a few people on a social media site, and I made some more singularitarian art recently, and so I tagged some people on this subject. But really, the idea was also to share my art, or that I seized upon the opportunity there to share my art. I'm stalling for time because I can't find I can't find my note. Let's see. God damn it. I was going to switch gears in a few minutes to the this whole China bit that I did on the last show, and I don't have as good of notes as I wanted for that either. So thank you for your patience. I'm looking at 6 different of these things that I posted to try and find the one that I wanted. Well, I'll describe the artwork. It incorporates a design of my own. It has 4 heads, kind of shortening this a little bit. It has 4 heads of so 5 heads of communism meme that you might be familiar with: Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, and Chairman Mao. And then the 5th head is art of my own design, which is a brain, snugly sitting next to a good Chairman Mao, and a brain with a Superman S symbol at the center, which I hope to popularize as an emblem of artificial superintelligence and artificial superintelligent governance and representation of all of humankind, more particularly that idea than mere superintelligence. AI is not a very meaningful thing if it's not used for the betterment of of the society that we live in, and it's not being used in that way in the slightest for by the people who developed this kind of thing in the West. That's why I'm very critical of tech bros and tech organizations, and of course technology corporations in the West. They're the absolute worst of those. Tech bros and tech organizations have nowhere near the influence of the tech corporations, which are largely to varying degrees, but high degrees, military contractors. And so if you wonder why you live in a world where there's white supremacist ethno-state of made up of many radical Judaic terrorists, Jewish fascists, run by ruling elites who are predominantly, again, not all, but almost all, Christian fascist warmongers. The fact that most of society's resources are being used for things of this kind rather than being used properly. All that to say that a technological singularity, an AI takeoff, is not a good event or an even particularly meaningful event, about as meaningful as a merger between AOL and Time Warner of years past, if it does not include things like broad representation, if not eventually universal representation of humankind, working people, and new kinds of institutions, not merely rolled out in reforms over many years. We have about 5 years before we are in a permanent breach of a 2-degree overheating of Earth. That will mean that crops will not grow anymore. Human beings will not be able to live. It was 160 degrees in a part of Arab desert this summer. It was too hot for mammalian life to survive in that place. That is what the entire world will look like if we do not change these systems within the next 5 years. So when I say that AI communism must prevail, that means that human beings have got to unite to common purpose within the next 5 years to change the economic and governance structures in every land, in every corner of every continent, and abolish, utterly destroy the capitalists who are goose-stepping us toward this described climate death spiral, capitalism's climate apocalypse. There is no other alternative. The alternative is roll over and die. If you're not prepared to fight for this, find a gun. You know what to do with it, because it's no different. It's absolutely no different. I'll just paraphrase my social media post that I tagged people in because I still haven't located it. It basically was saying that the fascist West has created, quite intentionally, a psychodrama of transcontinental proportions that could basically be described as a neo-crusade type Führer. That is, everybody's talking about Jews right now. What is Judaism? Is Judaism good? Is Judaism bad? There's 14 million Jews in the world. But that's hardly the point. The point is that the working class, the working people of the world, are now not in a position to unite because we're talking about not the working people of West Asia. We're not talking about the working people of the United States. We're talking about Arabs. Are they bad? Are they good? Christians. What is their role in all of this? Jews. There's not very many of them, but oh, what's going on? This is an intentional psychodrama designed to trick you into not stopping capitalism's climate apocalypse by creating this neo-crusade intrigue. And they knew that this evil empire, represented by the fascist US and fascist West, would be slipping away. They have sophisticated modeling and analysis going that is able to project things happening a year or so before you see them coming. And so they knew. That's another thing for which advanced computing is being misused. They knew that 2024 could very well be the year that the House of Cards, that is Western fascism, collapses. So they create this neo-crusade intrigue, this Hail Mary pass, to try and lengthen this runway by a few months, for which maybe their necks will be spared from the guillotine. There are very few people of European descent in this world, in my view, who are not deserving of this guillotine. Because if you're a person of European descent in the UK or the United States, what are you doing? Some of you are doing the right thing. Some of you are right now in front of Washington, D.C., demanding that this war in Yemen stop. Some of you are going further still and taking actions against warmongers like Elbit Systems and many others. So I would say that you are the rare folks who are not deserving of the guillotine. But almost all of us are taking little direct action. Almost all of us have accepted this system that is killing the planet, that will kill billions of brown-skinned folks in capitalism's climate apocalypse, if not other conflicts that occur sooner, just to protect this de facto white supremacist caste system that's represented by this Eurocentric force of Western fascism. There is no excuse for this. If you live in the so-called West, you must take up arms and bring down these demons. Bring down this great Satan. There is no other alternative. Change gears a little bit and talk about this China story that that I brought up before. Let's see where it is. I had a chatbot. I saw something about people making mochi donuts. Talk about something stupid for a second while I look for this. I had a chatbot make me a recipe for a vegan mochi donut, and then I had this a chatbot I was curious about something else. So I had this chatbot make a recipe for me for a vegan mochi churro, and I'm not set up in my kitchen to make vegan mochi churros. But I was very curious about one thing that these chatbots are quite good at doing is making up new recipes. I've learned. If you're ever like, man, I really want to try something unique with saffron or whatever, you could definitely get one of these chatbots that emerged in 2023 to help you with that at great length. So if I was I was going to tag somebody I don't even know on Twitter who's just who I know lives in the Phoenix area, and say, hey, make these. I'll get the ingredients and let's make these let's make these mochi churros. But that I forget what happened, but I didn't do that. There's probably people that I could ping who would be more apt to do it than this person. Is the main idea there. Let's talk a little bit about this piece in the Guardian that described the differing approaches of the United States and China in an AI arms race. The capitalists in the United States are actively seeking AI technological supremacy, a techno-communist revolution around the world, as I've said, is the only real counterbalance to the techno-fascism of the U.S. and West that is emerging. They already live in authoritarian technocracy in the United States in many, many sectors, related sectors. That's going to get worse, and you won't find tech people anywhere who are not basically accessories to that grand crime. And it is crime. The United States military-industrial complex is the world's worst polluter. Of all of the things in which you could distrust white supremacist institutions, these things like the integration between U.S. fascistic intelligence agencies and military-industrial complex across many, many sectors and many, many continents is one of the things that you can absolutely trust the least. So these people who are the world's worst polluters, who protect all other super polluters, and who somehow, in the popular imagination, have this image of big cuddly teddy bears. Google's just a big cuddly teddy bear, right? They're not fascists. These are the people who you can trust the least. These are incipient techno-fascists. Tech people. Tech might just as well be short for techno-fascism, so far as the United States and Western powers are concerned, and they must be fought. We must create something that can stand against them, and I'd like to see that happen, just as I'd like to see this world saved from capitalism's climate apocalypse. But if you'll pardon my saying so, I think you're all a bunch of fucking idiots, and I don't think that you're really going to do much. But we can keep shouting into the void in hopes that perhaps that will begin to change. As we look at this AI pursuit of dominance, the so-called AI arms race, it's important to acknowledge the ways that China's approach might be different from that of this more fascistic U.S. and tech sectors, particularly advanced computing. The push for AI supremacy, as driven by militaristic and capitalistic incentives and institutions, it poses nothing less than the grandest of existential threats to humanity. The grand genocide of all genocides, capitalism's climate apocalypse, is very correctly, it's correct to say, it's being orchestrated by the fascist U.S. and the tech is a huge part of that. The AI revolution, then, in the U.S., under that is the techno-fascist revolution, the counter revolution, and it will enforce not just exploitation and inequality, but hastened peril to the environment. We have, in decades past, in years past, the breach of 2 degrees overheating of this planet was something that was suggested that might occur for the first time in another 20 or 30 years. It happened this year, within the last year, in 2023. this breach was first occurred. It's not a permanent breach, but it will become a permanent breach. And in that world, billions of people will die in the ways that I've described. So we shift towards Marxist principles, guided by human hybrid superintelligence, that's AI, in conjunction with human beings, artificial general intelligence, an ability of an AI to have insights into its own behavior and do work on its own, in conjunction with human hyperconnectivity and well-intentioned human efforts outside of the fascist systems that I've described, will create an effective superintelligent system. And I talked about that in about 8 of the last 10 podcasts that I've done in the form of the United Earth Directorate. Not going to expand on that except to say that I'll link to that. You can explore that idea further. But it is imperative to avert this dystopian technocracy, fascistic technocracy, to avoid not just the furthering of a surveillance state and the furthering of a world imperiled by the U.S. hegemon, U.S. Militarism, but to move us away from the razor's edge that is a climate death spiral. So China's approach is more rooted in the communist ideology. There's still concerns there that people rightly bring up. I do not have a great admiration for the China hawkish kind of approach that many fellow Maoists, I think of myself as a kind of Maoist, sometimes are discussing, and I don't. Many of those people live in the United States. It's like what I said of there being no good, really no good white people. The effort that you're taking to criticize China should be focused on putting the likes of Joe Biden's head in a guillotine. In my humble opinion, all of these folks, not just the head of state, need to, at the very least, be brought to heel. These powers, the institutions, the abominations that they control must, of course, be the thing that's truly destroyed. But the focus of AI in China has become quite impressive in recent years. It's across many industries and new kinds of infrastructure within the Communist Party of China, and that is, in my view, laudable. China has does not exactly have revolutionary designs in terms of a world revolution. That's a pursuit that's been denied them by the fascistic U.S. anti-communist world order, and it's not. I do not believe that it's something. It's one of these many criticisms that the Marxists, who are legitimately Marxists, who I've described as China hawks, would tend to bring up. But as I said, if you're not happy with socialist countries and what they're doing, it's because they have to live with the daily threat of nuclear annihilation for the last 80 years from the fascist West if they do anything other than take a breath. So maybe if you're living in those fascist countries, maybe you should be doing something about your own fucking fascists in your life, and not complaining about people in other countries that are living better than yourself. The Guardian article, I don't recommend it. I'm not going to reference it or its author. I don't have a great admiration for the person who wrote this article or the Guardian itself. But the analysis in it was pretty reasonable. Um, uh, I guess I'll share the link to it because doing that thing again where I'm getting a little thirsty. I can't. I can't take a drink like I used to with podcasts because I'm wearing this mask. um, so I uh, I don't want to end on that note. Let's look at some other stuff from recent Twitter conversations about Yemen. We'll bring it back around to Yemen. U.S. Has attacked the Yemenis, which are often referred to as Houthis, which is a little bit of disparaging term that's nevertheless become ubiquitous in recent weeks. These autonomous and legitimate Yemeni government is being attacked, and why the Yemenis have killed 0 people in the Red Sea blockade, while the U.S. has given billions to Israel in bullets and bombs so that they could kill at least 30,000 people. About 5% of the people in this city of 2 million that's been destroyed, Gaza, this greater Gaza area, about 5% of them are mortally wounded, deceased, or missing. Dead. 5% of the people are dead. And almost the entire city, 80% of homes and infrastructure has been destroyed. This is a war crime, and the fact that the United States is specifically started this attack the moment that this war crime was being debated by the International Court of Justice is a farce. It is again this level of cynicism that I described as neo-crusade shenanigans. It's an atrocity. No matter how many more Yemenis the U.S. kills, right now the number is a number that you can count, but countless Yemenis have already been killed in a U.S. Run war by the Saudis. There is no sustainable, livable, humane world while the United States continues to exist. It is an anti-communist, fascist abomination like no other in history. That's why I'm running for president of the United States. I've written an executive order that details precisely how the United States federal government will be disbanded. That order would be signed on day one, were I to be elected president of the United States. And among other things, it describes how existing Native American tribes and political entities would assume control of those formerly federal holdings. The United States' 50 states people would continue to exist more or less completely in their present form, but to cut to the chase, what wouldn't exist really would be this $1 trillion abomination, $1 trillion a year abomination of the United States military industrial complex that protects all other super polluters and is in fact the world's worst super polluter. As I've said so many times on this show, this must be done away with. Something like an electoral coup occurring is the very least, the bare minimum of what could happen to bring these hellacious forces to heel. It's incumbent upon you not to vote for other candidates for president ever, except for Ben Zion 2024. Not because Ben Zion is so smart or so good, or so deserving of a place in the world of legitimacy politics on this continent. He's probably not, but simply because these reformist efforts are a farce. The system has been captured. People of the capitalist class, liberals and the dog shit human beings to their right, all of them are more or less the same persona, and they all will sneer at you and say that you have to pursue proper channels, like voting in a rigged system, like other supposedly proper channels to change, because they know that entire system has been captured by fascists and no such change will occur. So this is why I would advise you not to vote except in this scenario that I've described that dismantles the U.S. abomination once and for all, because you have 5 years. We have 5 years to end this hell on earth that is Western fascism before it is too late, before we are locked into a climate apocalypse death spiral of the decades to follow that. And what is the U.S. is planning, for example, for green technology and their various greenwashing homages and feints. It is a thing that will be occurring when half of the planet is dead in this climate death spiral. All of the institutions are thusly damned, and we must join together with this righteous anger. But we must organize, and also there must be a humanity to it, to end cruelty. Your heart must be full of love as well. All of these things, but chief among them is that if you want to live, U.S. fascism must die, and a communist revolution is the only solution. And artificial intelligence and advanced computing is the most powerful revolutionary tool that has ever been built, and it is the thing that could allow us to create institutions that would build a humane and sustainable economic system.